Hello, and welcome to the Disability Myth. My name is Dominic, and I live with a fatal disease called spinal muscular atrophy. Together, my amazing caretaker, co-host, and best friend, Uriel, and I plan to debunk misconceptions, share our personal experiences, and shatter your expectations. But we're not stopping there. We're bringing in experts, thought leaders, and everyday people who are smashing through societal barriers, paving the way for a more inclusive world. Whether you're tuning in to learn, empathize, or simply to be entertained, the show promises to be an eye-opening experience that transcends boundaries. Because when it comes down to it, what makes us different is what makes us extraordinary. Heyo, welcome
Hi.
back to another episode of the Disability Myth
With
with us.
yeah, with
I'm your handsome, humble, hammy host, Dominic Trebethan. Alongside me, as always, the equally handsome and humble Uriel. Oh yeah, hammy too.
and Hammy. You
Did I
forgot
say
Hammy.
hammy?
How dare you?
I'm sorry.
Uriel. That's actually how it's pronounced, but
Handsome and humble.
And
I
hammy.
think I like to think so.
That's nice.
And today we have a very special friend with us in Elysia Everett. And Elysia is a disability advocate, a plus size advocate, a technologist, and founder of the app Friendly Like Me. So welcome on, Elysia. It's good to have you.
It's so great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we're super excited to talk to you. Like, I was kind of shocked and almost in disbelief when you had reached out to me. I thought it might be a catfish or something. I'm like, this company, this app is like reaching out to me, huh? I had to scratch my head a little bit, talk to Uriel about it.
Oh, we were both a little perplexed because it was your assistant that was emailing us.
Hmm.
And then we've had multiple people because before we received your email, we received an email from somebody who sent an email on behalf of a doctor in
Yeah.
Miami. And I'm like, oh, I'm not sure about this, you know.
Yeah.
Right. No, our publicist is really good. She reaches out a lot. I've gotten a couple people come back and say, "Is this real? Is this real?" But no, we're real.
In the flesh, yes.
Flesh.
Well, now we're happy it was real because we're here
Yeah,
we are.
here
Yeah.
we are.
What an awesome opportunity.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, man. We're really excited to talk to you about Friendly Like Me, get to know you, and yeah, I have used Friendly Like Me. I've looked at it and I've played around with it.
Oh yeah.
And for those unfamiliar, it's essentially my understanding is an app akin to Yelp that allows people in the disability community and the plus size community to review public spaces and businesses on their accessibility, right, Elysia?
Yes, sir. That's how it works. And the goal is once we have enough reviews for you to be able to find accessible places to go as well as review accessible places to go.
Right. So yeah, we're super stoked to be talking with Elysia today. We gotta jump into our icebreakers. So let's get going. We have a ton of questions for you.
All right, I'm ready.
All right. So most importantly, you get to bring back one musical artist from the dead and go to their concert. Who do you pick?
Oh, oh my gosh. I want to see the Eagles' last tour, the Hell Freezes Over tour, which I missed, and I would have loved to have seen it.
I
Would have
love
loved
the
it.
Eagles. My grandpa's a big Eagles fan.
He has a bunch of CDs, like their greatest hits. You
All
know,
of
like
them.
every 10 years they come out with like a compilation, like their greatest hits.
Yeah.
Bastard. So you can buy
Yeah,
it. Yeah, not have them all. But they
Yeah.
actually toured, I can't remember what year it was, but about 10 years ago. And I didn't go, and all my friends went. And I didn't go actually because I was worried about where I was, if the seating would be okay for me.
Mhm.
And it's one of my biggest regrets. I mean, I have bigger regrets, but it's one of those things that I really, it was a great night. All my friends went. It was an incredible concert. I mean, come on. Last time we saw Glenn Fry, last time we saw Don Henley, right?
Mhm.
Right.
And I missed it. So I would bring those guys back.
I like the foreshadowing of the need for Friendly Like Me. That's a good pitch. I like
Right.
it.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, what's your favorite Eagles song? If you had to pick one.
Oh, Peaceful, easy feeling.
That is a nice one.
Hmm.
It's very relaxing.
Yes, one of my favorites.
I feel like whenever I think of the Eagles, I feel like most people probably just jump to Hotel California.
Yeah, it's a safe one.
Yeah.
You know, that's a Joe Walsh song that he wrote while he was actually in the hospital. I think Cabrillo National Hospital or something in LA, detoxing, and he wrote that song.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
Like you can check out, but you can never leave, right? That it's an. I think it
oh,
has a different feeling about this, but I think it's a song about addiction.
that's
yeah. Like over
interesting.
the years, I've heard a lot of like theories, fan theories, this even religious theories too.
Mhm.
Because I worked a little bit in youth ministry, and there's a couple of people there older than me that had a little like out there. Like it's like, oh, it's actually a satanic song, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. Me being like,
Puts their finger up.
I
Actually,
don't know, because I was like 16. I'm like, I don't know about that. I mean,
It's not satanic. It's just a guy trying to like get cured, right?
right,
Addiction issues, stuck in LA, right? Not able to leave. But
right.
you know, who's to say? Could be anything. But
tomato,
that's
tomato. Either way, it's a great song.
And I find also last time we had this question, I couldn't answer it.
Right, right.
I can answer it now.
Okay, who is it? Who would you bring
Well,
back?
he's not dead. He's not dead. But Peter Frampton come alive.
uh, uh,
Like during the
uh,
recording of that, just there, it's like, oh, that'd be dope.
I
Yeah,
wish Pete, that's a great album. That
yeah.
song is an amazing song. Like the whole that, I mean, come on, everyone loves that particular bit of Peter Frampton history, right?
It's very good. It's a classic album. Like as the kids say, it's all bangers.
Oh,
All bangers.
all right. Well, next question. If you could go back in time and give a piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
You are not as fat as you imagine.
I love
As
that.
Lerman song, right? Like when you
I
look
could
at
use that piece of advice. I have a bit of a beer belly going on.
like when I look back at pictures of myself in high school, and I remember I felt so self-conscious, right? So like different from everyone else. And I was probably like 25 pounds overweight or something, right? You're like, wow, wow, what did we give to only be 25 pounds overweight today, right?
Right. And it just kind of speaks to something we've touched on before, that we live in this really comparative society.
Oh yeah.
We had this convo the other day, I think, right? Where, um, yeah, I was talking about comparison being the thief of joy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
And in today's day and age, when it's so easy to see other people
yeah.
with the advent of social media and television, media in general, you can't help but see other people, compare yourself to them, and say, oh, why don't I look like them, or why don't they look like me?
Or why don't
Right.
I have as happy of a life as they do? I
Yep.
mean, it's actually kind of sad that we've gotten our view into each other's worlds down to this little tiny window. And in that window, it's a very curated space. You know, I'm only posting pictures where I look the best, or I'm in the middle of something fabulous. I'm not posting pictures. I'm at the dentist, like living my regular life. I'm
I don't
having a
know. Uriel
day.
does that.
I do
It
that.
sounds like
I do that.
he kind of breaks the mold. He'll do stuff
Oh,
like that.
well, because I got tired of people asking what I did during spring break, and I'm like, I'm gonna take pictures of flowers and shit. So I literally took pictures of flowers and like dog shit on the sidewalk, and I posted it. I'm like, what'd you do? It's on Instagram. There it is. That's what I did.
That's true.
We do.
He was there.
I was there. Yeah, I mean, he took the pictures.
We do look at that stuff though and compare it to ourselves. It's almost impossible not to. When you're looking at that stuff and you're thinking about the weekend you have and why wasn't as fabulous as the weekend that someone else just posted. Meanwhile, that's a very curated view of the world. It's filtered, it's enhanced, you get to control what shows up. I mean, that's not what our world is really like.
Yep.
I think I'm always fatigued because my brain's constantly like burning calories and I'm tired. But I was thinking about on my drive here how much marketing has plagued my existence. Like, I don't really need a new car. The car that I have is just
Yeah.
fine. But because I'm constantly being berated and people are constantly talking about how awesome the new car is and like, oh, this car has this features, we all kind of like keep comparing ourselves to each other and have convinced us that, oh, this luxury item is a necessity.
Yeah. Like I need
You
the
know, it's
we were talking about it with Bryce, but we need the car with the tablet inside so that we can play Angry Birds while we're driving.
yeah.
This is
And how a lot of it's like very excessive,
yeah.
you know? It's like, oh gosh.
I feel like that's just modernity now. Just
Yeah, like
excessiveness.
I'm constantly being spoon-fed things I should have,
Yeah.
you
That's
know?
for sure. That's happening, you know?
Yep.
And you can feel the pull, like, all of a sudden, I don't really need any new clothes, but I feel like I must have a new summer dress. I must have a new summer dress. And I probably have 6 or 7 summer dresses. Why do I need a new one? My
Yeah.
last year's dress looks just as good today, right?
Yeah, but then
But that's not the feeling. I definitely want a new one. I want that dopamine hit, right?
right. Yeah, exactly. And then it just keeps growing and it's kind of like, oh man, like it's crazy. It's a
Yeah.
wild thing and it's so hard to like fight it.
Gotta
It,
get that dopamine. So I want to kind of backtrack to just more personal questions about you, Elysia. We had mentioned at the top of the program, the podcast, that you're a technologist. And when we talked before, I was just kind of candid with you. And I said, I really don't know what that means.
Yeah, but I've heard the term before, but honestly, I'm not okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Like I know how to work X like
I,
Google Sheets.
I know
Yeah.
I know how to use a computer, if iPhone. Yeah. So for the people in the back that don't understand it, teach us a bit. What is a technologist?
well, to me, a technologist is someone who's dedicated their career to technology and also to solving problems with technology, right?
Mhm.
Um, it's difficult in technology to speak to your expertise because it's changing constantly. You can be good at networking, you can be good at security, you can be good at computers, servers, whatever the thing is. But really, it's kind of a lifelong interest in technology and using it to solve business problems or life problems.
Right.
So instead of speaking to, oh, I was a technology executive or I did this or that, I just kind of lump it all together and say that I approach the world from the point of view of someone who's trying to solve problems with tech.
I like that. That's cool.
Cool.
And you had mentioned that you have kind of used that in your enterprise background, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. So I worked at a number of places. I came up, I got my start in the Silicon Valley, in the lead up to Y2K. And then I leveraged my expertise at a couple different in a couple different sectors, and then I ended up in legal. And legal is actually a very interesting place to apply tech because um, it's changing constantly. It has to stay totally up to date. The stakes are very high because lawyers bill by the second, right? They bill by the minute. And so when you have technology that goes down, their very favorite thing to do is to tell you how much that's costing you. You're right, by the second, by the minute. And so it's a very hard bar to live to as a technologist and as a support person, to take care of lawyers. And I did this at the largest law firm in the world. So we had a big global network. We were bringing in firms in different countries all the time. And I got to learn a lot of different things that I would not have learned if I had been in a different industry.
Wow. I mean, that's a topic sometimes we talk about, especially with uh the approach of AI
Hmm.
and how the regulation is kind of slow on that.
I can't even imagine like approaching the legality of
And
open AI and
like yeah, like using people's voices without their permit. Well, it's essentially their likeness.
right, or like deep fakes too.
Yeah, it's spooky.
AI in and of itself is a little bit of plagiarism, right? If you think about it, what it's doing is
Yes.
consolidating everyone's work product. And then when you run a search, you're getting someone else's work product, what they wrote, what they said. Um, and that's now kind of interpreted as the fact, the reality, this is correct, whether it is or not, right? If it's just been said a lot, right, it's there. But it is a very interesting form of plagiarism in the sense that you're an article that's been written on your topic, you know, when you go in and start asking OpenAI, it's pulling from those resources, it's using those words. And so you could unknowingly even plagiarize someone else's work. Just asking OpenAI, like, hey, write me a letter for about this or an article about that. It's a very interesting space, and I am not an expert. I am definitely not an expert in AI, but I'm fascinated by it.
Well, one thing where I kind of see it like fail, like sometimes we talk about like I like to play video games and people have been using AI to write guides and articles for said video games. But what happens is that it consolidates pre-existing guides and then that AI consolidates that and then another AI consolidates that and then you end up with like a guide or an article that's just like absolute nonsense.
Not to mention like half of the
none of it.
information is outdated.
Yeah, it's like it makes no sense at all. As like a user, like, oh, this sucks.
It does not know how to distinguish. And that's, you know, I get, I'm the target of many, many AI marketing tools, right? And I will get a message that says something like, Elysia, it's so great that you founded this company and you did this work and you did these other things. And they're not things that I did. They're not. I mean, it might have picked up like my name in an article about something and made that connection. So suddenly I'll get 4 or 5 emails from LinkedIn people that are referencing a project. We love what you did in Fort Worth. Didn't do anything in Fort Worth.
Wow.
Right. I mean, I'm glad that you liked it, but I didn't do it. And we have to take that really seriously when we're being targeted by AR from a marketing standpoint constantly. The messages that we're getting on LinkedIn, the messages that are coming into our email, they're way fewer times are they from a human these days. And even when they were from a human, they were annoying, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
You think about it.
Well, that's even more like more frightening actually. It's like shoot. Well, especially like imagine like people that are fresh or like new to marketing or like people that are older that might not necessarily know the difference.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's like a little terrifying.
Yeah, I got a call from someone out in the world yesterday that said, we're calling about your job posting on this diverse job board. And I don't have any open positions, so I was quite intrigued. And they picked up my name and they picked up Friendly Like Me and they created a career builder post that we were looking for people. And I think that's to get people to buy a subscription or to get more personal information, maybe collect their resume. I'm not sure what the angle is on that, but it didn't have anything to do with me. And it's really, I think it's hard for people to know the difference. You know?
It's well, sometimes we talk about this where it's when in regards of like culture, education, you can make an argument that a good, like I'm not to generalize, but a good percentage of the population might have media literacy issues.
Mhm.
And that is just if if there's already media literacy issues happening, now with the introduction of AI, it's just like, oh, the amount of scams, the amount of just like say like safety concerns are just it's wild.
Yeah.
You know.
I used to teach a class earlier in my career. It was computers for people who were just starting out. And we would give them an example. We would show them the whitehouse.gov website, and then we would show whitehouse.com. And whitehouse.com was a total spoof. It was, and I don't know if it exists anymore, right? This was like early internet days. But and try to teach people how to interpret the difference. Like this reads like it's legitimate and this doesn't, right? And how to interpret that. It always surprised me how hard that was for people to be able to tell the difference. And if you can take a really easy quiz online, AI or not, and kind of test your own ability to know the difference. But it surprises me how many people get kind of hooked by that stuff.
Yeah, we gotta try that. That sounds fun.
I think we should try that.
You should.
I'm a little afraid to, I just, honestly, because like, oh, I'd like to think, yeah, I can tell the difference, but then I take the quiz, I'm like, oh no.
We just get confirmation that we're the dumbasses we didn't think we are.
Yeah, it's like, uh-oh, like, ooh,
Oh, you're not as dumb as we're not as dumb as we think we are. Like it's little differences in grammar and language that don't feel human. And
Right.
you pick up on it. You just have to be looking for it, you
Yeah.
know?
like, I'm very grateful for community college English professors for absolutely drilling the absolute like all the fallacies into my brain until
Yeah.
I couldn't think anymore. I'm like, you know, it's like because they
Yeah.
come up so often and it's kind of scary, especially like like politics, everyday conversations. People says like, well, in my personal experience, it doesn't work like that. Actually, like people at this
Educating.
age, people that are in this age group are actually absolutely terrible because my experience is like, all right, dude,
Yeah.
it's like, like,
Okay, well, let's kind of reel back in.
I'm
We're getting
real.
a little off the rails with AI and politics. I want to talk about the app, and I
Yes.
want to talk about Friendly Like Me. What was your kind of inspiration for starting it? You have this, enterprise technology background. Did that influence your development of the app? Tell us about that.
It did. So the co-founder and I, we had the idea for some time, and the idea came from me in particular being scheduled into events as an executive. So much business happens over dinner or lunch or whatever the thing is, right? And I would very frequently find myself in a place that just wasn't really built for me. I would end up showing up at 7 o'clock at a restaurant to do business or to negotiate a contract, and I'm cramming myself into a booth that's too small, or struggling in some way with the accommodations, the amenities available at the restaurant. And of course, I was a plus size executive, and so I struggled with this a great deal. I was not alone in this, but I struggled with it. Um, and so for a long time, it was in the back of my head. We need to know where places that are plus size friendly, right? And that's as far as the concept went in my mind. And then I found myself in a medical situation where I had, as it turned out, had a blood clot in my leg that traveled up to my lungs, and that's called a pulmonary embolism. And I was suffering from this, but didn't know it. I was short of breath, and I went to urgent care because who wants to go to the ER, right? And
Right.
they said, hey, you should sleep sitting up instead of laying down, and that'll fix that. And of course, being a reasonably intelligent human, that seemed like bad advice. So I go to my doctor, and she runs a couple of, she takes my pulse and she talks to me, and she's like, wow, you're having a pulmonary embolism. Like, this is serious. And I lived in DC at the time, and we were right next to George Washington Hospital. And she said, let's go, we're going over. We also knew that when you have a pulmonary embolism, the test that they need to do is called a CT scan. And that CT scanner does not fit all bodies. Okay.
Mm,
It's hard to get in. It can be very small, sometimes as small as 60 centimeters, all the way around. And so because of that, and because Americans are bigger than they used to be, and actually the whole population, the whole world, to really get good diagnostic validity on a plus size person, you need a 70 centimeter or an 80 centimeter wide bore MRI.
hmm.
So that's not new news. What's interesting, though, is that before we went over there, my doctor got on the phone and she said, do you have a wide bore CT scan? The answer came back, we don't know.
Mm,
Okay. So then we go over there. And so then this whole thing happened in the lobby where 3 or 4 technicians came out, and I'm in a wheelchair right now, which is not the best way to evaluate me anyway, but I'm very short of breath. And they're looking at me. Now, this is in the lobby at GW, and there's all these people, and they're like, is she too big? Is the tube too small? Right. And they're looking me up and down trying to figure this out, which was,
wow.
as you can imagine, humiliating.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's not awesome to be plus size anyway, but then when you're in that situation, you feel very exposed, just very exposed. This is not that different from how someone in a power chair feels when someone's trying to evaluate if they can get into that bathroom or get into that place.
Right.
So while this was happening, I was thinking about Friendly Like Me, and I was thinking about, you know what, this is stupid. Like, I am uniquely qualified to solve this problem. We need to know where these machines are. We need, not only do I need to know, my doctor needs to know, the people working at the hospital need to know, the ambulance driver transporting you needs to know. And it's not just that thing. It's, is there a Hoyer lift where you're going? Do you need that?
Yep.
Right? Is there a menu written in Braille at the restaurant that you want to go to if you're blind, low vision? And so while I was in the lobby, in the waiting room being evaluated, I just decided, like, I want to be the one to solve this problem. I want to publish information on where every one of these machines are so that no one ever has to wonder. And from there, it became very clear that my access needs were just infinitesimal compared to the number of people that have their own set and how different they are person by person by person. And that's where we came up with the concept of Friendly Like Me, which is how well a place can serve you specifically, not someone like you, not someone with the same condition, but you. And so that's the kind of the thesis of our work, is that if you know in advance, if you can go, you're much more likely to take part. Going to a baseball game, going to a restaurant, if somebody scheduled a baby shower at that restaurant, if you know if they have an accessible bathroom or not, right, it's going to make the difference. And so we expanded our concept to include really all people with access needs, no matter what they are, create them a custom profile of what it is that they need when they're looking for a place. And then when you move through the search world in Friendly, you find businesses that are rated and scored based on the things that you said in your profile are important to you.
Right. No, and that's I think it's so cool that just that whole story
Yeah,
that you
that's
have
speechless.
you have such a personal kind of connection.
Right.
You had that kind of, it almost sounds like a eureka kind of moment, right? With all those people surrounding you, trying to like measure you, figure out if you'll fit. And I can't even imagine, like you said, it's almost degrading to a degree to be in such a public space and go through something like that, where you're supposed to be treated with the utmost, dignity and respect.
It's not all that different when you think about, I mean, I know you've seen this, we have all seen it online, when a wheelchair user, in particular a power chair user, is being deplaned.
Yeah.
Okay.
God,
Have you
yes.
seen those videos where all of a sudden they're lifting the person when they don't have any ability to do that or training to do that? And,
Yep.
they're bringing them down the stairs of the airplane. The person is terrified, right? It's really more about the world kind of not accounting for the fact that just average doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Are you average? I'm not. I
Right.
don't
No.
really know anyone that is. I don't even know what that means anymore, average.
Right.
But the plane is built for that. The plane is built for average, whatever that is. But that loss of control that a wheelchair user feels when their power chair is under the belly of the plane, they are essentially without legs,
Mhm.
right? Without legs in that moment. And you got a TSA worker yanking you down the stairs. Like, that's not appropriate for you and your condition. You paid the same amount to get on the plane as anyone else, right? And it should, by law, accommodate you.
Yep.
It doesn't.
Right.
I mean, we are only required to have accessible bathrooms, wheelchair accessible bathrooms on planes of a certain size, right? So the 2 aisle, look at me, I can do the when you want to fly to Houston or you want to fly to California and it's a regular size plane, you know what you're doing? You're not drinking water. You're drinking Diet Coke because it doesn't go through you in the same way, right? You're using the restroom right before you get on the plane. You're hoping to God you can make it, right? And if you don't, if you can't, that's an accident. Like, that
Yep.
is not dignified.
You just explained my life to a T.
Yeah, it's whenever we have to go to LA, this poor guy is like, I feel bad for him because it's like, oh, he should drink water. But Dominic, he's mentioned this before on the show where it's just like, yeah, he sometimes purposely dehydrates himself because, it's just such a hassle to go to the bathroom in public.
Yeah. When we go to LA for my Spinraza injections, which treat my condition, my SMA, it's about a 2.5 to a 3 hour drive usually. And I get up in the morning, go to the restroom right away, get picked up maybe an hour and a half after going to the restroom. And that's the last time I'm going until after my injection. When I'm on the cot in the operating room, even though I'm in the operating room, it's not a proper operation that they do on me. It's just they stick a needle in my spinal cord. I have a port that they can connect to that's sewed into my spinal cord, and that's how I receive the injections. And so, anyways, again, hour and a half until we leave my house after I've gone to the restroom, about a 2.5 to 3 hour drive,
Yeah.
and then about, I'd say, an hour to an hour and a half of being in the actual lobby and getting the actual injection. And then I'll go to the restroom because that's the only opportunity I can, given I have to like lay down to use a urinal.
Right.
And so I always have to ask them, like, oh, can I use a urinal before I get back up? And to kind of quickly touch on what you had mentioned regarding being picked up and transferred by TSA agents and all that, I can't even imagine because
Oh yeah.
I get terrified when I go to get my injections. I schedule the lift team at the hospital
Right.
to transfer me. And there's these two big bulky dudes that are transferring me that, I don't know personally. And it's just something as a person with a disability that needs help to transfer, you kind of have to live with. Just allowing strangers to touch you and move you.
Having faith that they know how to do it. Like the lift team at the
Exactly.
hospital, you can be
Right.
reasonably assured knows how to do it. The guys pulling you off the plane?
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
give
I
him a
I, I could never
Yeah.
because even with me too, I can live with people moving me
Right.
to a certain extent. But the issue with me is I have contractures in my knees, my ankles, my elbows, my wrists, where if you straighten or stretch my joints out too much, it's like the worst pain you could ever put me through. Like
Mm.
I will straight up cry because that's how painful stretching my contractures hurts. And I've had experiences before where I was lifted and those got stretched,
Yeah.
and it's not fun. And I don't think I could trust any TSA agent to like
No.
safely do that.
Yeah.
No, they don't have the training for it. And that's one of the things that some of the new rulemaking from Congress has been trying to address is just actually proper training
Right.
uh, of airplane personnel. Because one of the things that happens, as you well know, is that, I mean, we've all seen it, never mind getting dragged out of the plane, but your wheelchair goes in and it goes under the belly of the plane. And if they don't know how to handle it, what's coming out, right? For when they bring your wheelchair, it's broken, there's stuff hanging off that, that they damaged, and they don't know. And what that translates to, it's not like here's a piece of machinery that's damaged. Like, you've damaged my legs. You've
Yeah.
damaged my ability to like be autonomous and go to a meeting or go to the doctor's appointment or whatever. It's a totally different gig than, you screwed up my suitcase.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, that new bill that recently passed, it was a big step in the right direction.
Oh, yeah.
And it's cool because it's one of those rare instances where, as we have kind of talked about before, the disability community kind of rallied and they all united and pushed for this one thing to happen. And, as we've mentioned, it's hard to get the disability community to rally around anything really because we're all so either passive or angry, as we say, divided. And so it's just it's wild, you know? How can we get more people to in the community, disabled community, plus size community, to kind of rally around stuff more often like that, you know?
Well, I have I had a lot of thoughts on this because it affects my work on a daily basis. One of the things that I'm out there doing with business owners, for example, is saying, okay, if you can't upgrade your business to code because you don't have $100,000, please go buy a temporary ramp that you can put outside. And a number of disabled advocates are so upset with me saying that because it's not the final solution. It's not what is deserved, which is a whole rework of the building so that they can get in. But I kind of come at it from this problem solver's point of view. Like I would rather you could get in that one time than not be able to get in at all. And I'm interested in a business owner even trying, right? Instead of relying back on that, oh, I'm grandfathered, or I'm not bringing if I fix anything, I have to bring the whole building up to code. And I find that to be almost an insurmountable problem if you don't give business owners a chance to take smaller steps. And so I have recommended on many an occasion, all right, okay, go to Home Depot, get yourself a temporary ramp, advertise on your website, or better yet, claim your listing on Friendly Like Me, and
Hey.
tell people, hey, you might not see a ramp, but there is one, give me a call. And I can't tell you how many disabled advocates have said, that's not good enough. And I completely appreciate that. And they're totally right. But we have to start somewhere. And I get excited when a business owner even wants to try something small.
Yeah.
Because I'm very tactical and very focused on just do anything to help me out here, right?
Yeah. Well,
Anything.
it's like we talked with Sophia on the end of last season about, change takes time.
Yeah,
It takes a lot of small steps.
it does.
And the problem is when we get very, and this is not just true of the disabled community, but really any movement that's been around for a long time, right?
Mhm.
You start to feel there's polarization even within that movement. There's people who are very strident and feel like you got to go all the way. And then there's people who are willing to, deal with a hack or something like that. They don't agree. And that lack of agreement then puts them at a disadvantage when it's time to step up and say, all right, here's something we can get behind. I just want to make sure that we all have enough information to know if we can go. All right.
Yeah.
I don't even care if the answer is no. Just tell me this is not a good place for you. This Eagles concert, not going to work for you. Okay. It's all grass. It's on a hill. Like, you know what? Seek your happiness elsewhere. I'm like, I'd rather hear that than wonder if I can go, potentially try and have it be unsafe.
Or be
Right.
like let alone. Yeah.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think this is something as a community that we have to kind of come to accept, which is that the change is incremental.
Mhm.
And I want businesses to feel comfortable saying, this is what I don't have, as well as this is what I do have, because both things are very valuable to me. Obviously, I would prefer if you have it all, but we all know the reality of owning a small business. Like I own one and I'm not making any money at all, you guys, right? and it's hard to it's hard to imagine $100,000 worth of code changes for somebody like that, right?
Right.
Right.
I want it to be okay with them okay with us if they do something smaller. And not only that, to celebrate it, to promote it. Hey, this restaurant owner who didn't have a ramp that was in a 200-year-old building went to Home Depot and bought one. Okay. They bought one. So let's get it in there. Let's promote that. Hey, you can go now. Right. But within the movements, we do not agree about this.
Yeah.
And I find that to be a barrier and an obstacle to making change.
And I think ever since talking to you, it's really changed my perspective, because I was just talking to Dominic about this before the show, where when you live with a disability, you kind of anticipate or expect like disappointments, or just kind of like, oh yeah, this place is not set up for me. Like I've been there once, not very accommodating, and it creates this psychological thing where every time you go out, you just expect everything to not work out, and thus you end up going out less often.
Mhm.
And when you're out less often, people don't actually see you, and it thus continues this ableism.
This like vicious cycle
Yeah, that we
of
constantly
isolation,
Right.
segregation.
I think that's very real, you guys. This is the foundation of our work, which is that if a business owner doesn't see you, I mean, I can't. I'll tell you a story about my hairdresser. Okay, she's in a
Mhm.
building here in Houston, and it's an old building, and she has this crazy parking lot, and it's on a hill, and it's filled with potholes. So I'm inside because this is not a problem for me, right? I can walk over the potholes. And I'm inside and I say to her, hey, what would you say to a wheelchair user about your parking lot? And I get the exact, well, we're compliant because we don't have to bring that up to, the same kind of response. And I'm like, no, 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 no. What would you say to a wheelchair user? They clearly cannot park here.
Yeah.
So can you tell me where they can park? Is it around the corner? Is it behind the building? Just what would you say? And then she kind of backpedals and she's like, well, I would say that across the street, where it's flat is the best way, and call ahead and we'll open the, whatever she had. The problem is that most business owners are afraid that you're going to sue them. That's what they're afraid of, that compliance is coming. And we all know that compliance is never coming. There's never the accessibility police showing up at your place. That very rarely ever happens. And so I said to her, like, it's likely that you're missing out on those customers, right? And she says, I don't have very many disabled customers. I'm like, right, you are.
Right.
And you're talking about one in every family that you're missing out on. I mean, it goes exactly with what you're saying. If you're out less, if you're isolated at home, business owners aren't having to face you, deal with you, and figure out what to do. And most of them would. Like if you're an income stream, I want you in my business.
Yeah.
Right.
Never mind, I personally want you in my business anyway. But let's just say if we take it all the way back to, let's talk about money, guys. There are, and this is an old study, several years old, but we're talking about disabled people have a discretionary income of $21 billion. That's restaurants, that's movies, that's plays, that's, all the things, right?
Yeah.
Concerts, bars. And if you don't think it's worthwhile to cater and advertise to those folks, I do.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I teach, or what I try to teach to business owners.
Yeah, no, I dig it, especially because, like we always talk about, 1 in 4 people live with some type of disability.
Right.
1 in 4. And if you add plus size people and you might be surprised to learn about their access needs, because not every plus size person has an access need. But when you go above a certain weight, okay, you do. You're not fitting into that standard share. And now we're talking about 1 in 3 Americans, adult Americans, you guys.
Right.
Like, is that not enough to convince you as a business owner?
Right. So you obviously speak with a lot of business owners.
I do.
What would you say are like the most common issues and the most common fixes that you come across?
So I think the most common issues is not understanding. First of all, if you have never seen someone with an access need try to access your space, it's invisible to you. Right? So when I speak with them and I say, okay, so let's just talk about me, right? I look relatively normal to you, right? If I try to sit in that booth over there, I'm going to be really uncomfortable. Watch me do it. And I go and get in and they immediately feel uncomfortable. They're like, whew, that's tight, right? What I love is that once they see it, they don't unsee it. They can't unsee it. Right. And usually that business owner finds a way to make an adjustment. And what I hear a lot is, well, that would cost $100,000 and what I usually follow right back up with is, no, you don't have to replace all those booths, just one. And then train your team. When you see someone with a disability or someone who's plus size, come in, sit them over there. Don't try to walk them over to this stupid booth.
Yeah.
I mean, you in your chair coming over to that booth, how are you transferring? You're not. You're sitting at the side, right? Is there one place in your restaurant where you can wheel up to the side of a booth and be reasonably comfortable that the people coming in and out of the kitchen aren't going to blow you over?
Right.
All you need is 1 or 2 spots in the restaurant where that works. And so I push back with that. Just make one modification and then tell us about it. Claim your listing, tell people, right? That's really all you have to do.
Yeah, no, that's something that I think we talked about before, was how cool the app Friendly Like Me is, where businesses, I think like Yelp, right, can claim their business and, kind of promote themselves on there, right?
Yep. Yep, it works just like that. They search and they find their place and they say, I'm the business owner, claim. We verify that they are. And then we walk them through a review that's very similar to the review that you would make of that space, asking them the same questions. And they learn a lot from that. right? They learn a lot from just taking that one kind of exam as they go through. It's like, do I have an elevator? Is the bathroom accessible? And then we teach them a little bit along the way. Like, your bathroom is legally accessible to a person in a manual wheelchair with good upper body strength. Okay, can roll in, open the door, find a way to get back into the thing and be all right. That is not accessible for someone in a power chair. A regular array of stalls with the one bigger one at the end.
Yeah.
You know, if that's at the end, the turning radius of your chair alone is not letting you into that space. Not to mention, you need Uriel with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Are you able to fit into that stall too? Come on.
The both of us probably no.
No,
Yeah, it's crazy.
I have a fun story that
It's
it
great.
seems relevant here.
Oh no.
No, it's not about you. It doesn't
Is it
involve you.
UCLA?
No.
Tell me.
I used to have a nurse in high school that was a big old dude, like 6'5",
Oh yeah.
and he
The
was
J-Man.
he was ex-military, big dude, real strong, and he was my nurse. And one day I went to Ventura City College on a trip with the school robotics team because I forget, were you on robotics too?
Maybe I don't remember.
I feel like our entire friend group was just on the robotics team.
All the nerds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the cool kids.
Yeah.
Oh, nerds.
So I went down to Ventura with the school robotics team, and I had this all planned out so that it would be okay for me restroom wise to make the trip and stay all day. Because again, like the biggest issue I have when going out is my restroom needs. Like I said, I have to lay down and use a urinal. So I had recently at the time come across these condom catheters, and I had tried one at home and it worked fine, had no issues. And then of course when I went out to Ventura to use it, when I really needed it, it leaked and it didn't work appropriately.
Right.
And I was with again the J-Man, as we'll call him.
Yeah.
And we had to both fit into this small ass.
He's a large dude.
He's large.
Large dude.
Yeah. We had to fit into this small disability stall with my chair, and he literally had to lift me with one arm,
Ugh.
help me undress, and use my urinal while holding me midair, one-handed. And it was the craziest thing ever.
That's an accessible bathroom, right? That's the
Right.
accessible bathroom.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
Totally
don't think
different.
I've heard that story before. That's crazy.
Like he was just
Wow.
one arm holding me, the other one, helping me.
I've held you with both, and like you're not lightweight.
I
That's
mean, back then I
crazy.
was lighter. I was probably
How we all work, man.
You're in a small bathroom stall with essentially Shaquille O'Neal, right?
yeah,
Holding
basically.
you with one arm. Are you feeling safe?
No.
God, that's
This
wild.
is
I don't think you've told me that.
And there was a time on my 21st birthday, I of course went out drinking with my brother, and I had a nurse slash friend with me to help me. I was with my brother and friends and stuff, and we were drinking a lot, so you have to go to the restroom.
Mhm.
Happens.
Break the seal, as they say, right?
Exactly.
Is
Exactly.
that what they say?
Break the seal.
That's what they say. Like, once you go, after you've been drinking, you have to keep going,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was about like 2 margaritas and 2 beers in, and I was like, all right, I gotta piss.
Yeah, you do.
And so we went into the restroom at this bar we were at. My brother and my nurse went in with me to help me. And again, like it's the handicap
3 people.
bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my nurse couldn't lift me. She wasn't the size of the J-Man or didn't have the J-Man strength. So that's why I kind of went with my brother too. He was able to lift me up and hold me while she, helped me use the restroom. And so
Right.
it's just, again, the word that always comes to my mind is just ghetto. It's so ghetto.
Oh yeah.
It's just,
It really is. And it's not that much. I mean, if you think about how many places you go where there's naturally a lot of room for a family style bathroom, right? The airport is a great example, or at the hospital or someplace like that. Family style restroom. It's designed for you to be able to take someone else in there with you. right? The notion, I think it probably started with a mom and her kids, right? And then it's adaptable for people with disabilities. But if there's no adult changing area,
I was just thinking about that.
then how are you laying down?
Yeah, like I was thinking about like the little sorry, but like the
Gibbles,
baby changing station that flips
Yeah.
down. But when I
right?
look at those are always like made out of plastic and flimsy because they support the weight of an infant.
Yeah.
All
If I were
right.
to put you on there, it'd be a little ghetto.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's not, and so what we want is for every time someone encounters a full-size changing table, review it, let us know it's there.
Yeah.
Because those are the kind of specifics that make the difference. If you're going somewhere and you're going to choose between this gas station or that gas station, and one of them has an adult changing table, we know where we're going.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's also like even on the app, even if you like say you're a business and you do the portable ramp, you do the seating, you make the accommodations, but on the app, if you're transparent, like, oh, our bathroom, yeah, it isn't power chair accessible, at least they know.
Hmm.
Right?
And they could plan accordingly. That's like you don't have to hit every single thing.
You
Just the
don't.
fact that you have some stuff is
And,
more than most places,
and
right?
that you're
And
honest
you're
about it.
willing to tell me
Yeah.
if you can't accommodate me, because this is the thing, and I know you experience this too. If somebody invites you to an event, a baby shower, a bachelor party, whatever, okay, and you know in advance that restroom is not accessible. You know in advance, but you also know that they have all these other features, like you can get in. Like what I like to think is because that business owner has told me, I can trust them about the rest of their spot, right? I believe now that they are willing to tell me, hey, this is not good. I can run by for 30 minutes to your bachelor party, to your baby shower. And because I know that's about as much time as I've got. But if I don't know anything, I'm so not going. Not
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
And then not only am I not experiencing this event that's for my, in my friend circle or with my family, but the business is missing out on my dollars. And this is where I think the point gets missed a lot with business owners is that we're talking about there's a major economic impact to be had for making yourself accessible and then also publicizing it. Because once I know a place is accessible for me, I'm such a loyal customer. I mean, keep me out of that place. Try, right? That's why I'm having my glass of wine every night because I know I'm going to be comfortable. And I think that's a better route to get businesses to take us seriously is saying, let me show you how you'll make more money instead of someday the government may or may not come and inspect your place and tell you that you do or do not have a problem, that you will appeal, and then you will argue, and then maybe someday a court will issue a judgment and you'll have to fix your stuff. What
Right.
is the point of that? What recognize that you're just going to make more money if you do it, period.
Right.
Right. And then I guess the long term is if you do it now, make more money. And when the government decides to speed up and those things happen, you have the extra money
Yeah.
to make the changes. Ah.
Right.
Oh,
I
it's just,
mean,
I don't know.
1 in 4 of us, 1 in 3 of us, depending on what access needs you're talking about, come on.
Yeah.
Right.
And I personally, before I became an advocate for this, I stayed home a lot. I stayed home a lot.
Yeah.
I was well compensated and would have spent my money, you know? And I'm
Right.
just one person, and I know you stay home and other people stay home. It's that lack of information and a lack of confidence. If a business owner is only trying to prove I meet the law, I can't rely on what you're saying if I can go there or not.
Right.
Right.
Well, and then just another thing to kind of touch on too is I I appreciate in Friendly Like Me, the app, how detailed and like specific the reviews that can be. Not only the reviews, but the different like toggles you can select for what you need on your profile, right? When you're building your profile, you can say, oh, I need handicap parking, or I need this type of booth, or this type of seating, I need this type of bathroom. Like I was shocked at the list of
Yeah.
toggles.
Extensive. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
I'm so glad that you went and checked it out. That makes me super.
There's a, I was looking at Dom and he was looking at the app. I'm like, whoa, I was over his shoulder. That's pretty detailed. What
Yeah.
you got there? It's like, whoa.
It's a different review paradigm, and this is what sets us apart. You know, Google has done a really good job with the basic four: accessible entrance, accessible interior, accessible parking, accessible bathroom, right? But what they did is they had their Google Guides, 3 million able-bodied people out in the world, right? Oh yeah, look, there's a ramp here. Oh yeah, they have a handicap stall, right? But the review it's star-based. It's still star-based. 4.3 stars.
Right.
And that includes, is the pesto any good? Is the service any good? Like all the things. And what we're very focused on, I want specifics. If you say you're wheelchair friendly, I want to know what that means specifically. Does that mean you have one handicap stall? Does it mean you have a family style restroom? Does it mean that you have a lift? Does it mean that all the amazing parts of your restaurant are upstairs and there is no lift? Like, tell me the things. And the same is true for plus size or blind, low vision, deaf, hard of hearing. We need specifics. It's not the same as tell me some percentage, right? 4.3 stars. I want to know exactly what it is. And so we built our app around those specifics. The scores of places are derived based on, of all the things that you could have, what do you have to support that particular community? And so you'll see in the app, it's whatever percentage friendly for wheelchair users, and then you click on it and you can see, oh, well, this is why they didn't get 100%.
Right.
The valet parking, or whatever the thing is, no accessible transport drop off, or whatever the thing. And then you get to make the call as an adult with agency. I can live with that or no. And so once you start tracking specifics like that, you get to do fun things with math that you couldn't do before when you're looking at, I am a nerd, okay, but when you're looking at percentages, it doesn't help you. Now I can say they have 3 of 5 things that you need, show them to me. I can also score that business based on how accessible they are to you personally. And that's the like me score. That's like kind of the magic of friendly. That's the best part.
Cool.
I like that's cute. Like she's like, that's the magic of friendly. Like the cute little nickname.
Yeah, it's the magic
I like
of friendly. Yeah,
I like it rolls off the
no,
tongue.
it's
Yeah.
like it's really cool because I think a common thought process is the lawsuits, the legality, like, oh, that's too much to do it, and like the approach of approaching it as in something is better than nothing. You're losing money not doing it.
Yeah.
And it's just I think, a different perspective that you and I haven't really considered
Yeah.
before. And then
That was like the first thing I said after we got off that first meeting with them.
yeah, I'm like, dang.
Like I've never had this type of convo before.
Yeah, it's like,
Economically
oh,
about the
yeah.
business side of not meeting access needs. Like this is a whole world.
Right.
This is a whole
Yeah.
thing. It's as a nerd, you kind of get
It's exciting.
Yeah.
When you
And it
think
all
about it, yeah, like being able to educate business owners and then seeing them, it's very validating to see them take these small steps. Like at the hairdresser, that same hairdresser now has in her lobby a chair that doesn't have arms for someone to sit in. She now has a hairstyling chair that goes all the way down so people can transfer. It's better for plus size people. She has capes now. You know how they go to the hairdresser, they put that cape around you.
Yeah.
She has capes that are for plus size people. This was like from one conversation. She did these things because I was able to convince her. I'm not that successful all the time. Right. But
Well, and it probably comes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying it probably comes down to like the individual too and their kind of internal biases and
oh yeah.
yeah.
It so does. I was really lucky that she wasn't like, because this happens. Well, if you would just lose weight, you'd fit into that cape. And I'm like, but I'm here for a haircut today.
Right. And you have money.
A year from now, if I'm 100 pounds less or something, I'm here today, my friend. So do you have a cape? And I'm writing yes or no. Do you have a cape? And what I'm doing when I do that is I'm really paying it forward for the next person coming behind me in my situation looking for a hairdresser.
Well, and it's just a wild thing to say because are you just going to tell that to every plus size person with money?
Yeah.
Are you just going to say that every time they walk in? It's like, no. Right? It's just like you're losing, like you don't want to go the Walmart or like Amazon just buy like what, a $30 cape?
Not even. It's so cheap, right?
Right,
That's the
exactly.
first thing she did. She was like, I'm going to get you a cape. I think she did it on her phone while my color was setting. Because she had
Yeah,
put one, she'd taken two capes and put one around the front and one around the back.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sitting there feeling like, really, I'm feeling kind of dorky. She did it while I was there.
Yeah.
Is a rare story. That is a rare story. But I've learned a few other things like that. For example, we've been working with Hand and Stone, the day spa place.
oh yeah, yeah.
I told you this in our conversation, but as it turns out, they're incredibly, incredibly accessible. They have their tables like rise up and down, right? They have 1,000-pound weight limit on those tables. I guarantee you that most plus size people feel like they can't go get a massage because they're afraid they might break that table,
Right.
right? The regular fold out massage table that the masseuse carries with you and with them when they come in, those are not friendly. Okay. So you imagine that in your mind is that's what's going to be so you don't go. Okay. So in working with them, I found this out. I'm like, you're not advertising this. I swear to God, you should be targeting plus size people and saying, and people with disabilities saying, you can get your massage here. Right. And what I maintain is as soon as we get Hand and Stone to claim all their listings and start promoting their accessibility, that Massage Envy is going to be right there going, we want to compete with them. That is what I'm trying to get to where this stadium is competing with that stadium to be more accessible. This concert venue is competing with that one. Right. And then hopefully artists will start to say, I'm not performing unless you can accommodate.
Yeah.
I think there are some artists that do that today.
Oh man, you're a mind reader because I was just thinking about that. Yeah, because it's like the harp back onto like the thing where the psychological thing, like, well, if this business doesn't have those things for me, I'm just not gonna go out. You go out less often, people don't know you exist.
Yeah.
But then once even small businesses, everybody starts doing this, it creates that competition. Then all of a sudden, more people like Dominic are just going out and about, and it becomes normalized. Then all of a sudden, well, you know how like money and capitalism, blah blah blah. It's just like, oh, the people across the street, they're making way more money than I. Like what's the deal? And then they'll start competing. It's an American
Make
thing. Like gotta compete, capitalism. Oh, we gotta.
we
Yeah.
gotta make businesses caring about people with disabilities a cool thing.
Yeah, and it's like it's always because
And I'll tell you, the way to do that is not to come after them, right?
Right.
The way that we as a movement often target businesses for not getting it right. I think it's the wrong way. I think it's like we want to show up, we want to patronize you. Help us patronize you. I don't know if I told you this story, I probably did, but when Pottery Barn came out with their accessible furniture line,
Yeah.
and they were so triumphant. They worked so hard on it. They did all the right things. They consulted with the disability community. They had lots of advocates working with them. And then when they handed it over to marketing, marketing did what marketing does when they don't know. They got stock images of people in like rented wheelchairs, not really disabled people, right? And the disabled community clouded up and rained all over Pottery Barn's launch. Now, I ask you, was that more important than saying, thank you for the new accessible furniture? Because when they did that, would you be Crate and Barrel lining up to launch your accessible line when Pottery Barn just got creamed? No, you're going to stay away from that as far as you can, right? So they were punished essentially because they dropped the ball at the end, but they were trying. And we got to stop doing that. We're hurting ourselves. Williams-Sonoma is not doing an accessible line. Crate and Barrel's not doing an accessible line. All those high-end furniture companies that were like, "Phew, this is too hard." And you can understand why.
Yeah.
Yeah, because ultimately, like, they worry about their bottom line, like the money, right? And it's just like, oh, if we invested all this money and it just gets like absolutely destroyed online and people, oh, it's not enough, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, oh, well, I guess we won't do this again.
Yeah.
And like she said, it creates this, it's a little, it ruins it for future generations.
Hey, you don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Right.
Right.
You're like, okay, come to me when I have to. I don't want to touch this.
Plus, when
Right.
when stuff like that happens, you're getting negative review bombed unfriendly, you know?
Right. And they got a lot of negative press. And instead of it being about the triumph of them bringing forward this
Yeah,
incredible furniture line, it was all about that other stuff. And I was disappointed. I felt badly for them, um, because I felt like they were trying to do the right thing. And
yeah,
we get all hung up on these details that, I just don't think it's a good use of our time.
yeah.
Mm. Well,
I
I'd
think
agree.
a
I'd
lot of
agree.
disabled people who would disagree with me, right? And that's okay. We do not all have to agree on this, but if we want to make change, we have to be friendlier to businesses.
Yeah. It goes, it's we have a relationship with businesses, and like any relationship, it's a two-way street, you know?
Yeah.
You gotta put in effort just as much as they gotta put in effort.
Yeah.
They need your money just as bad as you need their product.
Mhm.
So yeah, it only seems fair that we kind of both put in the effort, just like any other type of relationship.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Now, having this whole conversation, I don't know about you, but I really want to use Friendly more often, you know? Like we gotta go into town.
We should do.
We
We
gotta go
should.
into Solving. We gotta review all the spots that we go to. Big Bopper, Aerosmith's, Subway,
Yeah.
because they have the cool little ADA logo on the table.
Oh
All
yeah, they do. They do. They do. Yeah.
and
Do you
it's
feel like
hard to it's hard to remember. Like, I mean, I'm the founder of this company, and I went to lunch someplace today that I forgot to review. I can't even believe that that's true, but it is, right? It's not in your, I'm not like a Yelp reviewer. Like, I don't want to share my negative opinion with the whole world, right? But we have to do this, and I'll tell you why. No one is going to give this to us, right? Like, my co-founder and I, we built this amazing platform for all of us to use, all of us to use. If it doesn't get used, we're just going to blink right out of existence.
Right.
hmm
And we worked really hard. We built it for 3 years to bring it to life. And
Yeah.
now what we need is people taking it on as their own and saying, like what you said, I'm reviewing every place and solving. Like every time I go out, I'm doing it.
Yep.
We need, I mean, if anyone listening wants to help us, that's the way to help us. Get out there and
hmm
make it your own. And by the way, when you're reviewing places, if you come across like, well, I wish I could review it for this and it's not there on the list, I can add it like that. The platform is incredibly scalable. I just need input. I mean, when you go in and you look at the reviews on Friendly Like Me, there's way more places reviewed by us than reviewed by you,
Right.
hmm
People out
right?
in the world, yeah.
Right. Which is you go ahead like the next
Huh?
because it says here only 3,500 reviews, but how many users?
We have 7,500 reviews, but we've had
There's
about
like
90,000 people use the app, right?
Okay.
right.
So less than 10% of people are actually leaving a review. And
Mhm.
that's okay. That's about normal. 10% would be normal. Just in terms of participator versus not, we would expect that. But we're under 10%. And I hope that's not because it's hard to use the app, right? But we have to think about that. Is that a thing? So
Mhm.
we're always trying to make it easier and better. But really it's we need you. We need people. Um, there's 6 million businesses in the app. Okay. And I'm telling you 7,500
Wow.
viewed, right?
Hell yeah.
So we need help because it can't just be me. It just can't
Mhm.
be just me.
Well,
Well,
there's your plugs, I guess. She's Friendly Like Me.
yeah,
Let's
dude.
do it.
Like Dom, that's like I
Download,
saw
like,
Dom use it, and it's quite detailed.
Yeah.
It's like
No,
wow, it's pretty
great,
cool.
great app. You know, got my stamp of approval
hmm
as a person in the disability community. So no, we appreciate you, Elysia. We appreciate Friendly Like Me, and we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. You've been
thank
awesome.
you. It's lovely to talk to you every single time. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Oh, gosh.
Gorge, yeah. Oh man. Oh shoot, sorry.
So I'm here whenever you need a guest or you want to chat, I'm here. You just let me know.
We appreciate it.
And then
And I'm
let's
going to be
tell the
looking
people.
for you reviewing places. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
We're gonna take like a day or two, and we're just gonna like
Just
hit
eat
every
everything.
place in
Yeah.
Poland. We're gonna be
Hey,
broke, but we'll do
one of
it.
my
Or be
tricks, if you're in a place and you can't find that business, like it's been renamed or it's under new ownership or something, just clear out your search and have it find your location,
Okay.
and then it'll come up. That's one of my favorite insider tricks.
Okay, good to know. The more you know.
And then
Yep.
just so people know, where could they access the app?
Oh, you can download it from the Apple App Store. You can download it from the Android, the Google Play Store, or you can use the web version. If you're not as good on your phone and you just want to use the web version, it's app.friendlylikeme.com. You can access it from the website. I actually prefer the web version myself.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah. And any suggestions, put it on the contact us page. Like I said, amenities that you think are missing, let me know and we will fix it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And we'll be sure to link all that stuff too in the
Thank
social
you.
media posts that we
Mhm.
put up with the episode. So it'll be
Thank
on the description and everything.
Cool.
So great to talk to you guys this afternoon. It's not the evening. It's dark here.
I could do
But
it.
it's not.
I could do it. No, I could do it.
You gotta hold them longer. Like,
I look crazy. All right.
okay, there's
There you go. Right on.
all right.
It's like a spell.
Well, if you liked what we had to say today,
Yeah.
please leave us that rating. Perhaps a nice little review on Apple Podcasts. Be sure to share with your friends and family. And hey, check out Friendly Like Me,
Or else.
or else.
I'm joking.
I'll run you over.
Yeah, it's very painful. He's done it once.
Just once. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at The Disability Myth. And with that being said, peace and love, and may the force be with you.
Bye.